What opportunity did you see in the RV park space that motivated you to take a risk in investing in it?
Well, as an investor, I'm always looking for an asset class that's a little bit undiscovered. And what I mean is it's not cutting edge, the kind of thing that could succeed or fail, like, some technology things that come out of nowhere, then they fizzle later. On the other hand, it's not something that has been around so long that it's overheated. And, honestly, multifamily has gotten very overheated, and there's so many different operators have just rushed into the space that sometimes it's hard to get a deal because
Absolutely.
sometimes you'll end up on the wrong end of a deal, as some multifamily people have found out this year. But RV ownership has skyrocketed 62% since 2001. This is a growing trend. And what's happened is, of course, we all wondered 2 years ago about how COVID would impact or potentially destroy the world. And, what happened is 5 times as many RV campers joined, 5 times as many RV campers started camping in 2020 as the previous record year, which was 2019. And so, what a surprise to all of us. And so basically what happened is, in a number of ways, 2 ways I'll jump back into in a few minutes, COVID accelerated a trend that was already on the rise anyway. And that's what I think is so great about the timing of this, but there's a lot of other stuff.
Do you see in the future, the projection, say 5 years, is this a growing market? Is it anticipated to grow?
Yeah, it's funny. So the between 2019 and 2020, 6 million households started camping. Yet, and 26% of those were, 26% of all campers were new during the pandemic. But pandemics are temporary things, at least we hope they are. So the question is, why would it continue? Why am I so bullish on it since the pandemic height of that has passed? Well, something happened that's a first in world history, and we all know what that is. Work from home went from, I think it increased something like 400%, if I'm not mistaken,
Mhm.
between 2010 and 2020. But since 2020, since COVID, it's obviously exploded, and it's a first in world history. And what it's caused is, that and a lot of other factors, including the wealth that people have, the mobility they have in general, the millennials' idea of a good time. People are now, the demand for RVs has increased dramatically. In fact, there's only about 11 million RVs by one count in the US. Studies show that 9 million more households or people want to buy an RV in just the next 5 years. And even though that's impossible because they can only produce about 600 to 650,000 a year, there's
Wow.
massive pressure on RV parks as a result of this. And so, think about this. The work, again, the work from home or the remote work revolution has first of all allowed, something like 30-35% of people to be on the road full time, or to, not be in the office, I should say, full time. And a lot of those people, now that RV parks are equipped with internet and, Wi-Fi and better cell service and better amenities in general, they're realizing, we're not, COVID taught a lot of us, life is more than work. Life is short. Life, we're not guaranteed, 100 years. And so a lot of people just started realizing, hey, I want to work from the road. I've got kids. I'm going to homeschool them. They realize they can homeschool. Some people did. And so they're hitting the road. Like my friend who was a CEO of a startup, and he hit the road. He rented his house in Roanoke, Virginia, and he hit the road full time in a very nicely outfitted camper that has a garage mode and a work mode where he can have a desk drop down from the ceiling and he can work. Two people can work there. And
Wow.
so it's just a really, really powerful time. But what this has done is put a lot of pressure on RV parks because you've got a lot more people using a lot more campers in, I won't say the same number of spaces because they can start new RV parks, but it's just really, really put a lot of pressure on the RV park industry, and something people really didn't expect that came out of nowhere.
And when you say pressure, pressure meaning to meet supply with the demand pressure to build new ones, what do you mean by pressure?
I'd say both. I mean, here's something that's really interesting. There's a website called Outdoorsy and another one called RV Share. And these websites allow people to turn their RV into a rolling rental unit, sort of like Airbnb for RVs. And so as a result, these RVs that on average sit idle 350 days a year, Aisha, now they might go into service, let's say another 30 days a year or 50 days a year or 150 days a year. Well, think about that. Same number of RVs now getting 5 times the use. I'm not saying all of them, but some of them are. And so those people need a place to camp. In fact, I stayed in an RV park when we were checking out this asset class. I stayed in one of their permanent cabins. But when I wanted to go rent one on RV Share or Outdoorsy, I didn't know where I could take it because my neighbor with a huge Winnebago next door told me that it takes a year or two to get a nice camping space at a campground now, which is really sad. So it's putting pressure on RV park development and on the current RV parks, which are honestly, a lot of them are significantly overbooked.
And what can you talk about what your experience has been with RV parks in terms of investing in them?
Yeah, well, there are there may be three, but we know of two large public REITs that invest in RV parks, campgrounds, and also mobile home parks and other asset classes. And so they have a lot of assets and they're really professionally run. And then you've got about 8,000 privately owned RV parks. And the vast majority are considered, what's that?
Are these mom and pop operators?
Yeah, I was going to say the vast majority are mom and pop operators. Mom and pop operators can be great, but they often don't have the desire or the resources or the knowledge to really upgrade their park, to really run it at optimal potential, and really maximize income and therefore value. And so the RV parks we've invested in have been the type where our acquisition partner would buy, let's say, a $3 to $4 million RV park. Let's say it had, just as an example, 100 spaces. And they would go in and buy the land. They had the money. They were well capitalized. They'd buy 100 acres, let's say, of wooded or farmland next door. And they would take that same core asset that's already got a website, or at least they build one for it. They've already got marketing. They've already got a front desk. They've already got all the services in place. And now they can double the capacity, as an example, by adding spaces. And they also add a lot of amenities. So, for example, the one I stayed in near Fort Worth, Texas, added a $2 million water park and also a $600,000 swimming lake and a fishing pond and, Wibbits. Are you familiar with Wibbits?
No, what is a Wibbit?
Wibbit is a floating obstacle course. They're about $200,000 or $300,000 to install in a lake. And kids and adults can play on these obstacle courses, and they charge about $15 to $18 per hour, and that's about $1,000 total at per hour in the peak months, especially in the summer. And so, as a result of that, there's so many value adds. I mean, I could list 20 value adds real quick, but I mean, there are things like a makeshift drive-in movie theater and human foosball and a safe jump park or a trampoline, outdoor trampolines, face painting, gold, gem mining, hay rides, music, food, limited food service, all kinds of things like that. And if they put a park like that near a destination, like let's say Branson, Missouri, or Nashville or Gatlinburg, people can come there and have their whole vacation. They might stay for a week or weeks in an RV. And studies show that it's 47% cheaper to have an RV vacation than a similar hotel vacation if by car, and it's over 60% cheaper if going by plane.